Good morning, everyone. It's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you're having a great morning this morning. It's Monday morning. It's definitely a coffee morning. It's been a long weekend, a lot of working this weekend. Late nights. I'm tired. But I have to trudge on here, and I want to continue with my top 100 list. We've made it to 50, working from 50 to 41. This is where it gets more difficult. And I go by, I don't have a formula here. I go for the love of the album or the artist. I go with a gut feeling as well of how I feel about that particular band or artist or album. And I know the great Richard McCook has a formula with calculations and everything, which is fantastic. It definitely works for him, and he shows some wonderful, wonderful bands and artists on his own. And I don't follow that regiment, but I think I've chosen some pretty darn good bands and artists so far. Also, thank you so much to the vinyl community. You guys are amazing. There's been so much love and support. It's really encouraging, and especially in these terrible times, that you have this type of community to fall back on. And the comments have been nothing but great. Couple of mentions, Chris over at Blues Guy Vinyl, so informative on blues and jazz, the genre I definitely want to get into. Rachel, the music man, nothing but love and support. Glenn Calloway, just my neighbor, just up the road a little ways. We kind of have the same similar likes in our musical style, but the differences just encourage us to discover new bands and artists, which is kind of cool. But he's super knowledgeable, he's also doing his top 100 list, and I think he's got a type of a formula going on here as well, but not me. I just choose from the heart and the head, and how I feel about each artist and album. So let's get going. So this first one, number 50, I featured previously. I can't remember what position, whether it's in the hundreds or the 90s, but and you know me, I always have to feature some Canadian artist. Oh, by the way, joined by my buddy Max again. He's just chilling out and relaxing this morning. This is American Woman, the Guess Who, number 50. A wonderful, wonderful album by the band. The last to feature Randy Bachman. Of course, he went on to fame and fortune with BTO. Him and Burton Cummings just had the differences going on. He wanted to try something new, and there was a history of that all through the life of the band. There's a great documentary on Crave about Randy Bachman. Very dedicated musician. Some say in some ways arrogant, some ways not the nicest guy, but dedicated in the fact that he had one vision, and that's to make the best music that he could. And all throughout, they've had troubles in and out with the Guess Who, but they kept it together and made this amazing album. Sixth studio album by the band, released in 1970, one of the most commercially successful releases. Big hits off the album. It also hit gold. You got No Time, of course, American Woman, which if I never heard American Woman again, that'd be cool, because it is overplayed, and I prefer that version over Lenny Kravitz's version. And No Sugar Tonight, New Mother Nature, kind of a song that got together by Burton Cummings having a partial song, and Randy Bachman writing a partial song. They just happened to be in the same key, put them together, and they created this amazing song. It's a wonderfully constructed album, full of great tunes and amazing stuff. American Woman. Coming in at number 49, again I featured this band earlier with The Unforgettable Fire, a wonderful album. This is at number 49. This is U2 War. It's their third release from 1983. Awesome tracks like Sunday Bloody Sunday and New Year's Day. Very political album. This was the start of Bono's political ramble. But it's also one of the last albums I'll probably get by the band. I want to get a couple of their previous stuff like Boy and that type of thing. But beyond that, I'm not really into U2 anymore. But you can't deny the strength of this album and the Unforgettable Fire album. It's a more darker album, I guess, or also at the same time a better constructed album than Boy or October. Boy or October were very I guess not as well put together. I mean, great albums on their own, but this is a better constructed album, production wise, playing wise, theme wise. It also hit number 1 in the UK and actually knocked Michael Jackson's Thriller out of that position. Reached number 12 in the US, so it's no slouch of an album. Also, they toured extensively off of this album, and I think they were at their peak with this one. I think they hit their stride, and beyond that it just became repetition, to me anyway. I mean, I know there's people out there that love and hate U2, but to me they hit their peak, and beyond that they just kind of went weird. So at number 48, and I debated what position to put this one in because it is a great album. Super overplayed though. I mean, every track on it is super overplayed. But at number 48, Back in Black, AC/DC. Maybe use that as my thumbnail. I mean, this album, one of the biggest selling albums ever at 50 million copies and growing. It's their 7th studio album released in 1980. Of course, you all know the story that this was an album, this is the next album after Highway to Hell, which should have had Bon Scott in it. Of course, he died tragically. They looked for a new lead singer. They found a guy from the band Gordy, which I want to get into, because if you ever watch a couple of videos from them, Brian Johnson has a pretty darn good voice. It's not this yelling and screeching voice that he has with AC/DC. It's a pretty grooving type of vocal range that he has with that band. But anyway, he seemed to be a good fit for them, and obviously he had, because 30 or 40, whatever many years later, of course they've had their struggles too, and I think they should just give it up. Especially after Malcolm died. But again, that's neither here nor there about this album. But listen to the singles off of this one. You Shook Me All Night Long, Hell's Bells, Back in Black, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. Just hit after hit after hit. And But again, as I said earlier, definitely overplayed. But you can't deny the strength of this album. Great, great album. To me, I still feel that Highway to Hell is my more favorite album, and that's going to appear in this list coming up. I'm not sure what position yet, but again, one of my favorites. That's number 47, Jerry Rafferty, City to City. From start to finish, a wonderful, wonderful album. Of course, Jerry Rafferty from Stealers Wheels. It's the second album by the great Scottish singer Jerry Rafferty, released in 1978. Hit number 1 in the US and went platinum. Of course, Baker Street and Right Down the Line, big singles off the album. It's well written, well produced, well played, well sung. He's a remarkable artist, and he didn't want to be in the limelight. If I recall reading something about him, he wasn't comfortable being there. But what a performance, and what a great album. So number 47, City to City, Jerry Rafferty. At number 46, and again, I featured their Brown album not too long ago in this list because I think they're an amazing band, and that happens to be their name. This is music from Big Pink, sorry, the band. A remarkable debut album. I know Glenn Calloway showed this as well. I can't remember what position he showed this particular band, but it's their debut album, released in 1968, recorded and written in that Pink house. That's still, it's privately owned today, apparently. But at the time, half the band lived there, and they had a recording studio downstairs. They just got off the road with Bob Dylan as Bob Dylan's backup band when Bob was trying to go electric, and they were pretty much booed every night, and they wanted to go on their own. They formed. They had this core already of fantastic musicians, and they came in and made this awesome album, and I love every song on it. It's Americana, it's story driven, it's dark. Some of the songs are out of tune, but they played with heart. And one of my favorites is the Long Black Veil on this one. It's just a haunting tune, but you could picture every scene in that song. Of course, it's got The Weight on it, I Shall Be Released, and from start to finish, it's just an amazing album. Richard Manuel seems to be singing quite a few of these songs on here, and he's got a haunting voice to begin with, a soulful voice. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful album. I just picked it up not too long ago, but I've always loved it, and I always wanted to get it, so I was able to find a copy. This is a remastered version as well. It's got some bonus tracks on it, but yeah, awesome stuff. So number 45, this kind of fits in with awesome 70s rock, heavy rock, hard rock. This is Demons and Wizards, Uriah Heep. Right in there with Deep Purple and just a wonderful grooving album from start to finish. Fourth studio album released in 1972. It's a big hit for the band. Has the Wizard on it. The big hit Easy Livin', and which is kind of the poppier track off of the album. The rest of it is a combination of hard rock and prog, but Easy Livin' is a commercial hit for the band. Kind of sets them in line with a gothic type of heavy metal band for the 70s. I mean, they're not the heavy metal band of the Metallicas or that type of thing, but in the 70s they were considered a heavy metal band. It's just a great example of 70s heavy rock, and I love the cover. It's just from start to finish, again, a great album. Of course, you got The Wizard, you got Traveling in Time, Easy Livin', of course, Poet's Justice, Circle of Hands, Rainbow Demon, which is an amazing song on its own, All My Life, and Parasite, The Spell. 12 minutes and 41 seconds on that song. Awesome album. Happy to have that in my collection, but I need to get more. At number 44, I featured their second studio album, I think in the hundreds perhaps. I don't know, it was a few videos ago. At number 44, this is Shades of Deep Purple. It's not the Machine Head Deep Purple or the In Rock Deep Purple that you know. This is progressive and psychedelic. Different lineup as well. You've got a lot of covers on it. It's released in 1968, so it's got that 68 feel to it. Maybe not as well produced as their later stuff, but it's also an early example of psychedelic and progressive rock, and it's kind of the grandfather of that style, along with the Moody Blues and those type of bands. It's got great grooves. Hush, of course, an awesome tune. They do a great cover of Hush. They also do a cover of Help by Lennon and McCartney, completely different than the Beatles. Of course, Hey Joe, a different version of it as well, but a great album from start to finish. I love early Deep Purple as much as I love the Mach 2 version. The Mach 1 version is cool. There's also a Mach 3 version, and I believe a Mach 4. Like there's 3 or 4 different versions of this band. Mach 2, of course, being my favorite, with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. This has Rod Evans and Nick Simper playing bass, and Rod Evans singing. He's more of a softer, bluesier vocal style than Ian Gillan, but and then that's why again they changed to Gillan, because they wanted that harder edge. But this album is no slouch. Great album. Speaking of great albums, at number 43, and beyond this and Toys in the Attic, it goes back and forth as far as favorite Aerosmith album, but I chose Rocks. From start to finish, You can't beat it. Fourth studio album, released in 1976. It's the band at their rawest. It's the band at their top of their game. It ranked number 176 on Billboard's top 500 albums of all time, greatest albums of all time. Three big singles: Last Child, Home Tonight, and Back in the Saddle. From start to finish, as I said, it's just a wonderful, wonderful album by the band. And some would argue that Toys is the better album. Some would argue that Rocks is the better album. I kind of go right in between. They're both great. But I had a copy of Toys, and I don't have it. I've looked and looked and looked. I don't know where it is, whether I don't have it anymore. I gave it away because I did stop collecting a while ago, a few years ago now, and getting back into it again. So it may have been lost in the shuffle. I'm not sure. But anyway, great album, Rocks. At number 42, Foreigner's Double Vision. An amazing, amazing album. And this one could have been higher or lower on the list, depending on which way you look at it. Second studio album, released in 1978. Hot Blooded, of course. Double Vision. Blue Morning, Blue Day. Three great tracks off of it. Mick Jones is a well-versed guitarist and instrumentalist, and Lou Gramm, of course, one of the best vocals out there. Spellbinder, again, one of my favorite tunes off the album. Sorry, and another one from start to finish. It's a great, great album. And then finally, at number 41. This is the Yes album. Love My Yes. Waiting for a box set to come in, another album series box set. I'm not sure when it's going to arrive. It's not a prime choice, so it could be a couple of days before it gets in. But looking forward to it. The Yes album is their third studio album, released by the band in 1971. First album to feature guitarist Steve Howe, who replaced Peter Banks. It's a breakthrough album by Yes, it really is, and solid album. Yours is No Disgrace is a great track to start off a wonderful album. The Clap, such a different solo on that one. It just shows how great Steve Howe was. Starship Trooper, of course, amazing. And the piece de resistance, I've Seen All Good People. Again, another one from start to finish. It's just a wonderful, wonderful album. Yes is right up there with the top bands of all time, for sure. Anyway, there you go. There's my 50 to 41, and I'll probably be putting together the next video soon. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you to all, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.